Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week I wanted to talk about the idea that I like to call casting your net, which is like fishing. And the gist of it is that, first of all, you can't catch any fish if you don't throw your net out. And second of all, if you throw out your net more, you'll catch more fish. And I mean, it's a pretty basic idea, but it's really very important to keep in mind that you gotta just try, and you gotta try a lot. Because if you try once and fail, that doesn't necessarily mean that your ideas were bad. It just means the timing was wrong, or the execution wasn't up to the quality that you expected it to be, so it just didn't land as well as you thought it might. But if you try over and over, and if you try lots of different iterations on the idea, that's often when you tend to strike more interest in people. A good example for me is, like usual, the 2-hour track challenge, where every week I'm making something new and different and creating something that I wouldn't have made otherwise. And because of that, I have this huge backlog of music where if I see on Twitter somebody says, well, I'm looking for this kind of stuff, I'm able to just throw out a song and be like, hey, is this kind of what you're looking for? And more often than not, it either is or it's close enough, and it helps build connections that way, and that allows me to cast my net in one way there, just being able to have such a large backlog available, and I think it works with if you're throwing out. I say throwing out. I'm not meaning that in like disposing of. If you're putting your art out, like if you're putting a sketch out every day, or if you're making like a little jam session every day, it's still January for me, so Jamuary is going on right now. If you're putting out content like that every day, you're offering a new cast of your net, basically, and you're putting new stuff out there, and you're trying to pique the interest of people who both would be interested in your work as a follower and a fan, but also people who would be interested in your work professionally and would be willing to pay you for it. And I think that it's valuable in both circumstances to just continually put stuff out there. The same thing goes with game development. I know a big thing for game dev is to release GIFs of your in-progress stuff these days. And I think that that's wonderful because it not only helps show people who aren't familiar with game development what things look like behind the scenes sometimes, but it also works as marketing for your game, where suddenly people who might not have seen your content before get to see how the game is played, what it looks like, maybe a little bit of fun behind the scenes stuff. And all of that kind of builds potential customers. And obviously not everybody who views it will become a customer, but the more people who do will potentially become customers and fans of your work. And I think that that's really the important thing. It's just the more you put out there, the more you'll get back. And it's very valuable to be able to have that kind of connection with people. And I mean, I'm kind of taking a very simple idea and stretching it out into like 5 minutes, so I should probably just get going. You get what I mean. Make a lot of art, make it often, share it as much as you can, and then move on to the next thing and make more art. There is a downside to this, where it comes to sharing your art, and I was reading about this recently, where if you share something and you get a very positive reaction, that kind of triggers the emotional completeness for you that would be similar to finishing the project as a whole and putting it out there. So it can be kind of a trap if you put something out there and get a lot of great feedback to just say, well, that idea worked, and then never work on it again. So it's important to create, or to continue to create, the thing that you're making, instead of just putting out the one thing, getting a lot of positive response, and then abandoning it. Which I don't think anybody does really intentionally, but it's one of those psychological things that I found recently, and it's definitely been something that's affected me in the past too, where I'm just like, this is a great project, and I put out one song, and then I get a couple, positive responses to it, and it's like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this, and then I never do. So, something to keep in mind. I think that's really it for this one. Thank you so much for being a Patreon patron, and thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Be remarkable.